Good afternoon. How are you? Well, as you can see, the sky is pretty interesting. It's 50-something degrees, and it's a little windy, but quite pleasant still. And you can hear the birds, and you can, on cue. Is that perfect? I don't know if you could hear that. And see, there he is again. And the buds are coming up, so it's nice. I think this one's going to follow me, this bird. So, Senator Blackburn asked Judge Jackson a question if she could define woman. And I didn't understand why several times today people had asked me that question, because I hadn't heard that at the hearing. I didn't know about that, and I defined it. But before I tell you what I said, not knowing that it was posed at the Senate hearing, the nomination hearing, now that I know where it was, they were adding an issue, and I think the issue that they were adding was transgender. But let me tell you how I ignorantly answered the question at first. I answered it in the negative. That is, I carved out pieces. It is not a question of sexual organs. It doesn't mean you're heterosexual. It doesn't mean that you're homosexual. It doesn't mean you're of the same race. I thought, was most troubling to people who didn't appreciate the category transgender. Of course, the people that are uncomfortable with the identification of people who existed before, but were biased against, the public was biased against and discriminated against. So the LGBTQ categories were annoying, upsetting, raised outrage in people. And strongest among, quote, the Christians, so much for the golden rule, love thy neighbor as thyself, and basis for discrimination. And this is probably why it was at the hearing, it's become one of the rallying cries at the lower level of political involvement, and that is the revolution of very conservative men and women, but women seem to be leading the cause, to attack the notion of transgender in school at every level. And this is often in response to non-discrimination provisions involving teachers and students, but especially the students, because the students have been shamed and intimidated and called out and abused. It's resulted not into just kind of psychological problems, but has resulted in suicides. So this is no laughing matter, not that how one is defined, particularly when young and one hasn't identified who one is. So the question of what is a woman is best answered perhaps by example. There is no one woman, any more than all of these bushes and trees and plants are one of one kind. The flora and fauna of life, when it comes to sexuality, is as diverse as is nature. And so the question was not asked in a friendly way, in a fair way, in the sense of how are we going to deal with a public that doesn't understand and discriminates against people based on LGBTQ. And why don't you tell me what you think a woman is? And I think Judge Jackson, rightly said, I couldn't tell you. Because to say what one is different than saying you shouldn't be discriminating against someone because you're biased that can't be. This is the problem about religion. The breach between the text of the scripture and the conduct of the people in a religion. And you can almost name any religion. And that's why I don't have much use for it. Also, the division between sometimes fanciful beliefs and ever after, when reality is so much richer And if you do this reality right, if there is anything supernatural, there is any ever after, if it's anything like fair, whatever that is, and we're superimposing our image of it, then you should be taken care of. So that's that. Manchin has relieved some pressure on the nomination of Jackson by saying he supports her, and that's good. We have an example of the law actually going after a public official. I don't know if you Nebraska Rep, what's his name, Furtenberry? Forgive me if I got his name wrong. But he was convicted of lying principally about bribes and so forth. So it's pretty seedy. Out in back at the war zone, our president went to visit with the troops and visit with the refugees. He was supposed to meet with the president of Poland. I don't know if he did, and I'm not sure that the reason the president of Poland's flight couldn't get to see him wasn't a way to avoid an appearance he did not want. We'll find out. And for all I know, when I'm talking to you, maybe it's already been arranged. So we have the same problems going on. I hope you're well. And I'll see you tomorrow. All the best. Bye-bye.